Hey everybody, welcome to our team call. Today's February 7th. We're going to talk about creating your avatar to help yourself so that you know who you're actually speaking to when you are posting on social media. So I'm going to share my screen so we can look at this awesome PowerPoint presentation that I made. Oops. There we go. All right, and then I gotta get to my notes. So, all right, so creating your ideal customer avatar. So this thing here, I'm gonna share this with you guys after this so that you guys will have like a reference point, and I also have some little pictures to help you guys, like you can print them out and write on those. That'll help you distinguish what your avatar actually is. And also I have a branding thing that I'll share with you guys. But having an avatar is important because you'll need to know who you're talking to, who you're marketing to, and really your avatar is basically you and who you are as a person. So as we move on, you want to know who you're talking to and how you are going to help them. Now, when you're creating your avatar, you really need to like write down a few things about your avatar here. So I don't think you guys can see this part over here if you are on a little screen like me. You want to establish what goals your avatar has. Now, we're obviously in a health and fitness kind of world, but we all kind of got into this for different reasons, and we all have different body shapes and different things that we have going on with us when we first started. And so you really need to kind of remember who you once were and why you wanted to get started with this. And then you want to establish their goals. Is it that they want to get fit? They need to lose weight. They want to gain confidence. They want better relationships. They want a healthier mind. There's a million different reasons why somebody could want or need this. So remember who you are, and then you're going to write down what your goals were when you first started. And honestly, you should also be doing it to who you are now and talking about like what your goals are now as well. So it's kind of a weird thing. You were kind of like one person at one time and now you're a different person, but you're the same person. So remember what your goals were and also what they are now. You want to keep in mind what values your avatar has. If you're a Christian, that's something that's really important to you, then you're obviously your avatar is going to be Christian. If you're family oriented, if you're married will come later on. But if you're a conservative, if you're liberal, whatever your core values are is what your avatar will have as well. You don't want to be talking to everybody. You want to be very specific in these. Because when you talk to everybody, you end up dealing with people that kind of drain your energy. When you work with people who are similar to you, it's like a fun and happy experience. It's not one that's draining of all your energy. So just remember what your values are. You want to think about all of the different places that they get their information from. Books, magazines, movies, what TV shows do they like to watch? What kind of public figures do they follow? Are they an Oprah follower, Gary Vee follower? Those are kind of a little more specific to us business-wise, but try to remember, again, like the different kinds of things that you like so that you know who your audience is. This is basically all about targeting who your audience is, right? Demographics, which is going to be the one that'll probably be the easiest for you because you know how old you are, your gender, your marital status, about where you're located. And this one is important because now I know Shelly's on the call. She's in Kentucky. We're in New York. And yes, we get along, but like a lot of people in New York are way different than people in Kentucky, or even if you have people even further down south, like Alabama. You want to try to remember that you're a New Yorker. You're not going to be talking to a Southern boy who has way different thought processes in the way that they are. Like New York people tend to be a little bit more go, 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 where someone who's a little bit more south might be a little slower. They have a lot of times they have completely different value systems than we do. So your location is really kind of important. Also what their occupation is and around what their annual salary is. Also keep in mind that these are not just things that are limited to. The more in depth you get with all of these things, the more you'll be able to target your specific avatar. You want to think about what their challenges and their pain points are. So do they have money issues? Do they have time issues? You really have to put yourself in their shoes and remember, again, what it was that you had problems with, right? You want to think about what their objection to the sale is going to be. Like, do they spend too much money, or that your product is too much money? They don't have the money to pay for it. They don't understand the value of what it is. Some people just don't want to make a change. I just had a conversation with somebody like that a couple weeks ago, and that was the first time I have ever come into that problem ever. So you need to really, hone in on what their objections are, and then you'll be able to talk about those things. A better idea when they're going to come at you with that objection to handle it. Oh. You need to know what the role is in the purchase. So is this somebody that's going to need to talk it over with a significant other and make sure it's okay to spend the money on this? Do they need to, if it's a younger person, need to talk to their parents? Think about who else might be involved in this process. And then once you have all of these things established, you're going to want to name your avatar. And the more detail you give, the more you'll be able to attract your ideal customer. So really harness in and think about it before you really start making your posts. And when you have this avatar figured out and you have their name, you can really think oh, well, Sally is a woman who has 3 kids and is a stay-at-home mom or a work-at-home mom, and she was really heavy, had no self-confidence and no self-worth. And those are the way that you talk to your audience, is you're just talking to this one person, and then you're going to really start to attract all of these people who are like you, because that's who you want to work with. All right, that is the end of my little presentation. I want to show you guys, of course, the thing went away when we had to reboot the computer. So I want to show you, we have little worksheets here for you guys. Had everything all set up before. All right. I know I sent them to you.
Perfect.
Where did they go?
And they were that.
Bye bye. Thanks. You guys.
Yeah, I think that was it. The other one.
Okay.
The one, yeah, that one. I pointed to it like you can see what I'm pointing to.
I do that all the time. I'm like this. So this will be a nice little sheet for you where you can write down the goals and the values and all of those things that we just talked about on this call. And then you'll have a clearer idea, keep that somewhere where you can see. So when you're creating your heartfelt posts or even just your silly posts, this is the person you really want to talk to. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, wait, we're really quick. I have a little, stop it. We took this at a Super Saturday. It's a little quiz and it helps brand you. Now, you saw my picture that I posted, and it's not like a normal picture that I would post for a team call, right? But the quiz that I took told me that those colors, those kinds of fonts, and all of those would attract people who are like me. So I did that on purpose so that you could see kind of what my branding is, pinks, reds, because I'm a quote unquote lover, and dark purples and things like that are what people.
You're a lover?
I am. Not a fighter. Fuck off.
Prove it.
We're both like, okay.
It's the personality traits in me where I need to have a connection to people and things like that. And I'm an asshole, whatever.
So obsessive.
Yeah, it is obsessive, whatever. So, but
Psychotic.
my lover like complex, like people who are like me are going to relate to those colors and the fonts, and they'll be drawn to those more, which is why I did that on purpose. And I have that quiz that I'll share with both teams, and as well as this little presentation here. So then you can take that quiz yourself. You can kind of understand. It's like not a lot of questions, but it was really interesting to see the kind of person that you would attract. And then it gives you a 5-page PDF of everything, fonts, the specific words that you should be using in your posts to attract people like you, colors, all sorts of fun stuff. So, and it even gives you examples of what your post, like your pictures or your graphics should look like to attract people like you. It's a great branding quiz. And I think that combined with figuring out who your avatar is will really help you guys this year establish your audience and the people that you really want to connect with. Because I can tell you firsthand that connecting to people who are not like you is exhausting. Having to deal with them on a daily basis, having them in your challenge, it's just exhausting. You don't want to do that. You want to market to your specific person, and then your business will be fun and you'll really notice because you're attracting people like you. Like I have a high drive. Like I really want this to work. And so attracting people who are like me, who have a drive and a passion for this, really helps build the business part of this. So, and we all have different goals, so don't be like whatever. But but that's it for my little presentation. It's short, sweet, and to the point. So does anybody have any questions?
I think it's important to know, because I remember when Casey did a little bit of avatar stuff she did, someone doesn't have to be exactly like you. Like, even if you're just a mom and that's the only thing that you have in common, that's a pretty big thing. So don't think that you have to match up every single aspect of your avatar with someone, because that alone could be exhausting because you have nothing to learn or gain from each other.
Well,
so
the thing is like, you're just putting the posts out there. Whoever comments, I mean, I'm not going to be like, no, you know what I mean? Like, you'll probably have a connection at some point. It's just the whole, this is what attraction marketing is. It's when you're attracting people, you're not actually actively seeking, which you still need to do on a day-to-day basis. But when you're creating your posts directed towards your avatar, you're attracting people. And that's what like attraction marketing is. And a lot of coaches are now starting to learn that this is kind of the way that it should be, because you're attracting people like you. They keep talking so heavily about be you, be unapologetically and authentically you. So this is kind of helping you establish who you are, and then the people that are that you attract your tribe, if that's the way you want to put it. But absolutely, if you both are own dogs, like that's I don't know, people are pretty passionate about their dogs. I know I am. Brian likes his cats, so hashtag cat dad. We should make that a thing. It's happening.
But also, like, look at people like Amy Silverman, whose brand is almost like ridiculously on point, like the island life, like bikinis and, you know, tattoos, piercings, that's her thing. But like, when you look at people like Meg Wazinski, whose thing really is only her journey and like her kids, you know, you don't have to have some dramatic avatar like Amy Silverman does. Like if you look at other coaches, sometimes you don't really pick up on a whole other brand like Meg Wazinski or, you know, Raina Odell even. Like you don't look at their page and then automatically pick up on this branding. You know, a lot of them are their kids. You know, Raina's got the UC that she suffers from, you know, and I'm not saying that any disease or anything like that should define you, but it's a way to connect with someone if you are overcoming and empowering people in the process. So don't think that it has to be just dramatic or something. So
yeah. And a lot of times, like Silverman, she's attracting people who aren't necessarily like her yet, but that's what they want. So that's like the other part too, you know, and she's really good about talking about like in the beginning where she wanted to go. And so she's there now, and people who want that, those are the people that you're attracting, because deep down inside, they are somewhat like you know, because at one time you wanted that, you know,
which comes down to sharing your story. So basically you share your story and you share it often. So bits and pieces of it, at least once a day, at some point you're sharing something about yourself, whether it's a struggle in your workout. You're not just sharing a sweaty selfie and saying, day 5, blah, 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 done. So excited. Never miss a Monday.
Brian's favorite is never miss a Monday. That he fucking hates that quote. And you posted it yesterday, Brittany. I laughed so hard.
At the bottom. That doesn't
I know,
tell
but it was an inside
like,
joke between us.
You have to connect with your story, and like that's who you're speaking to with the avatar. So you're not creating an avatar of like you're speaking to that person.
Right.
So
That's
make
why
sure
we
that
made
you're
it.
sharing your story often.
Very. Any questions now? Come on, you guys know we like to talk. Nothing? Not even from the peanut gallery over here?
Really? See.
Sam, what gave you the courage to talk about your binge eating? Because I drop little bits and pieces like I did today, but I feel like for me to share the in-depth things is really hard for me. So when you first talked about that, because I feel like I maybe kind of targeted a group of people today just by some of the comments.
Mm-hmm.
I do have the PCOS that I talk to a lot of what we call sisters.
Yep.
But I feel like there's a lot of people out there that do go through the binging. So how did you come about even talking about that to begin with before you started dropping little bits and pieces? Or did you drop bits and pieces, then tell your story, and then carry on?
I think it came with the confidence, and I was finally ready to just talk about it, because I kind of never really did before. Like I never made that part of my story. I was just like, oh, I just wanted to get healthier and fit. And I did talk a little bit about like, you know I talked about it on my video today. I don't know how much you watched, but like we found, or well, he specifically found a ton of wrappers and stuff in our one child's bedroom. And so,
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I know I've talked about that before, but just the whole, like, I don't know, just recently I was like, I feel like I was just ready to talk about it. Because it is kind of embarrassing.
Oh, absolutely.
At least to me, it felt embarrassing and degrading. And I have like, another problem for me is like my mom is super fit, and she has been for a long time. She's like in her, how old is she? 50, she's going to be 58 this year. So she's 57, and she climbs mountains, and like she's an Ironman, and she's qualified and ran in the Boston Marathon. Like, you know, like she did all of these things. And so it was just embarrassment, I guess, on my part of not wanting to share it before. But I just feel ready to now, because I think that people need to understand that there's so many underlying things and things that make us, I don't know, it's just part of my story now. And I mean, it has been the whole time, but I was just ready to start. And I really started doing it more recently. I know Brittany just recently wanted to start talking about her anxiety and stuff, and she never talked about that stuff before. There just comes a point, I think, where you feel like you sharing your story is going to help more people. And I'm just at that point where I'm ready to do that now.
Right. And holy shit, I can tell you that it opens up a whole different, like, I have people that message me, like, saying stuff like, you know, I've been humiliated for so many years, but you give me, you know, strength. I can't believe you can talk about it. Like, you know, or people, you know, saying, like, I look forward to these videos that you do. Like, the first time I did it, it was super, I don't even know what happened. And like Sam said, like at some point, I think it just came to a point. I think I read, it wasn't a coach, but people I follow outside the industry, and they really just started talking about those types of things. And I was like, I've never really talked about this, but it was a huge part. It is a huge part of my life. So I should probably open up about it. And it was really scary because I'm kind of a private person. So,
And I'm not, but you know.
but it completely changed even me, like my confidence level and how I'm posting. And now this trust and respect that I'm constantly building with my followers is changing. It's just a whole different dynamic now. It's really odd.
The sooner you get vulnerable, I feel like the more success you'll have later. So it's, I don't know, but you have to do that on your own time and when you're ready. You know what I mean? Like, don't force yourself because it's good for business. Like, you need to be right here before, you know, because you don't want to be like, oh, I mean, yes, you can do that. Like, oh, I overcame binge eating and then go into this spiral. I mean, it happens. That's what, you know, we've all been there. You know, like we fucking did it up on Saturday. But it's not like the binge eating like before. You know what I mean? Like where I would be like literally in my car throwing wrappers out the window so he wouldn't know I ate McDonald's. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just different now.
There's also other things I feel like that we can all sit here and think of where we're like, oh, that's definitely something I should share. But I can think of a few things that it's just not the right time. And that's not just necessarily business-wise, but like personal-wise. Like, it's just not the right time to talk about that kind of stuff. Because for one, you don't want to overload everybody. You know, you breadcrumb your story for a reason. So now everyone's just kind of getting to know this side of me. You know, they're familiar with the PCOS side of you and the struggles that you've done. So now you're kind of easing them into like this mental health side of you with like the binge eating, you know, and stuff like that you've struggled with. So I think kind of easing people into that for one, so they don't think we're just fucking nuts and we're all just like being crazy.
We are, but whatever.
Why are they talking about being crazy all the time? But
a lot of videos, I feel like I've mentioned it, and I always am like, and we'll talk about that sometime. So I've always kind of breadcrumbed it. But when we talk about, you know, creating your avatar, I just feel like there's so many people out there, and like you said, Brittany, that struggle with things like this, but they are afraid to talk about it because, and like you said too, Sam, is it's embarrassing. But when you can relate to somebody on the same level is when you're like, and Sam has really done a good job at it, because I'm like, I swore I thought I was the only one that did that kind of stuff. You know, somebody else been through it and gone through it, it's like, oh, that like really was a,
you know, I read something the other day. I follow this mental health page on Instagram, and it popped up, and it was like, this lady was saying, she was like, yeah, somebody told me it was really brave of me to have the courage to share about my depression. And she's like, no, what's actually brave is I have the courage to like push through it. Like, I'm good now, but like I survived it, but like talking about it is the easy part. So I think thinking about things like that, like you're no longer doing that. So like the easy part now is talking about it, because the hard part was overcoming it. Like, I think that keeping that kind of perspective in mind is really powerful and can kind of change the way that you think about it if you decide to share it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I shared it back in December when I spoke for the MoreFit team. So it's not like I'm terrified to talk about it. I guess it's just how I talk about it. But like I said, it's
a little different though, like when you're putting it all out there on Facebook, because you're like, there's so many people out there that, I don't know, it can get shared, and it's like a scary thing. Like, I've been a little, like, I'm trying to like dig into, I really need to talk about this binge eating and food addiction stuff, because like I've had quite a few women that have messaged me like, well, how did you get over it? Like, and I'm like, what's going on? You know, like trying to have a connection with them on that. And it's like, you know, the other part though is like, we have really batshit crazy fucking families. Like, I'm not kidding you. And like, I just am not ready to really talk about how we had to cut them out of our lives for the safety of our family. Like, you know, so like there's like different, like Brittany was saying earlier, like different things. I don't know. I forgot where I was going with that thought process.
Shocking.
But anyway, so I don't know. It's one of those things, though. I think that by you sharing these little bits and pieces now, and because you have that PCOS thing, but it's just like Facebook. That's where I was going with it. Haha. If we talk about our crazy families, like people out there know our crazy families. And like we just, I don't know. I just don't feel like dealing with that shit right now. So for me, I'm not ready to talk about that stuff yet. But I'm more comfortable talking about my binge eating stuff because actually I will be completely honest on why I think I started talking about it now. I feel like I finally kind of overcome it because I really struggled a lot last year with dealing with a lot of stuff. Like I didn't have my before quarter force pictures because I was fucking on my game with Beachbody, you know? So I feel like I'm at a good place mentally with my food that I'm like ready to talk about it more. To answer your earlier question and go off on a tangent.
You can also do like a series like I do. Like I do like the like different aspects of like the anxiety, like the trichotillomania, you know, the excessive hair pulling. I did a whole video on that and like, you know, how I work my way through anxiety attacks, you know, like different videos. It doesn't have to be like one big subject of like, here's my story with binge eating. Like, let me tell you about an aspect like trigger foods. What are trigger foods? Like, and talk about trigger foods, you know, those sorts of things, like break it down. So you're helping people and you're providing value, but you're also sharing your story at the same time.
In general, because I know like for me, a trigger for binge eating or wanting to go get food or whatever is if I haven't eaten and I am in the car.
I'm in the car.
Literally, like, it's crazy. I literally have to say to myself, just go home. Just go home. Do
really?
not like a, yeah.
Nicole, when you post that too, I thought to myself, I was like, in the car, like, I wonder why that's a link. Like,
well, I think a lot of Sam I can relate is getting rid of garbage. I mean, if it was just going to the bank, our bank was right by a Dairy Queen. It would be like, hurry up, shove some ice cream down my throat. And then there was a car wash right next to it. And I'd go throw the garbage away. Right. And I feel like the reason I might be where you were at too, is ever since Whole30, I feel like I have overcome it. I can drive by Taco Bell and McDonald's and not even want to stop. And so I'm kind of at that point. But when I started back, you know, with my journey in April, I felt so alone. And I've always told Zach, like, I don't want anybody to feel how I felt because I felt like I was the only one on this planet that ever would go, you know, have Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's for breakfast because I eat all that and binge on that. So I feel like because I have overcome that I'm ready to talk to people about it because, and again, creating Avatar, there's people out there who are looking for support like that and that need to know that they're not alone. Because I know personally, I felt like I truly was the only person, and it is like things like the car and fast food and things like that. So, and it opens a whole nother door when you're creating your avatar, I think. So.
Hi, Ethan. Oh, that's Brian's dude.
Say hi.
Hey,
Can
buddy.
you say hi with your mouth.
Oh.
Hi.
Fist bump, Mr. Brian.
Shelly, you've been quiet, which I find very odd. What's wrong? Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
We're all a little worried. Where is Shelly so
Panic
far?
before I booted everyone off the call, so.
I almost forgot about the meeting. I was telling Sam. I almost forgot.
No one is shocked. They've been at the same time for a year now. And I get it all the time. I forgot that meeting. Oh, Jesus.
I just happened to go to the Super Crew page to ask everybody something, and then I saw it and was like, oh, that's like in 3 minutes.
Jesus.
But hey, I was the first one on the call with
Yeah,
Sam.
she was. And then we just got disconnected.
On top of it. Let's take a picture.
Yes. You have your screen thingy, the button. Okay.
Shelly's got to get her something. I don't know what she's doing. Oh, Jesus.
Let me get my bangs out of my eyes.
Stop it. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Shelly. Always something. something with you. I can't stand it.
This is my Christmas present from my sister.
I remember seeing it when you got it. I thought, oh God.
So you're gonna be wearing that in Mexico, right?
Yeah, totally.
Don't drink the water.
Walk around, just say, "Don't drink the water."
Josh will.
Oh, that's funny. I miss you so much. I can't wait to see you again.
It's gonna be so fun.
It
Can you just see me? I'll just be on the airplane like this.
Perfect. We'll make sure to have the same flights for sure.
Saying, what's that smell?
All right, does anybody have any other questions before we log off or want to add anything that they might have learned along the way about your avatars and branding? All right. Well, I feel like this was productive, short and sweet and to the point. So,
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
all right, guys. Well, you guys have a great evening. We'll log off, and I will get the recording up on both pages shortly, as well as all of the other stuff, like this document, the other one, and the branding website where you can go take their quiz. Oh, I'm like, what is he doing? Oh, he's fist bumping you now. No, like him and Ethan have like this connection. Like they are like besties. All right, guys, have a good night. Thanks for jumping on. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.